The movie starts with the thrilling part where two hitmen, Jimmy Bobo and his partner Lewis, are heading towards their targets. At the same time, there's a man named Greeley who is using drugs with a prostitute. Bobo and Louis enter Greeley's place pretending to be police officers, and they shoot Greeley without any mercy, making it look like a robbery. Bobo also notices the prostitute and shoots her, but later regrets it because he has a strict rule against hurting women and children. When they're leaving, they find out that Greeley, who wasn't actually dead, attacks Louis, and they get into a fight. Bobo eventually finishes the job and reminds Louis about their rule of not harming women and children. Bobo is sure that the prostitute won't report them to the police because she's more scared of them than the law. In another part of the story, Bobo and Louis go to a bar to get their payment from Ronnie, who's the person in the middle between them and their client, called the agent. Things get more complicated when a hitman named Keegan is carefully watching Bobo and Louis. When Ronnie doesn't show up, Bobo decides to go to the restroom, which gives Keegan a chance to attack and kill Louis. Keegan then goes to the restroom to finish off Bobo, but Bobo fights back. While chasing Keegan, Bobo finds Louis's dead body and realizes that they've been tricked. He takes Louis's knife and escapes from the place. We find out that Bobo has a long history of breaking the law, as he has been in and out of prison since he was young, with 26 times getting arrested, 4 times appearing in court, and 2 times getting convicted. Despite all this, he remains committed to his job as a hitman. The story gets interesting when we meet a police officer named Taylor from Washington, who comes to town to look into Greeley's murder. Greeley might have had some connections with the police. When Taylor gets to the police station, he talks to Leberton and questions a prostitute who says she didn't see the killer. But when Taylor sees Greeley's body, he recognizes him as a former police colleague from Washington who got fired for doing bad things. As Taylor digs deeper, he finds out that Louis, the guy who got killed around the same time as Greeley, was a hitman. Taylor thinks their deaths might be linked. He contacts his headquarters and learns that Louis had a partner named Bobo. Taylor really wants Lieutenant Leberton to find Bobo because he's connected to the case and could help figure out who's responsible for killing Greeley and Louis. But Lieutenant Leberton doesn't want Taylor involved in the investigation and takes away his gun, which he wasn't supposed to have. But even with this problem, Taylor, following orders from his bosses, decides to handle things himself. He sets up a meeting with Bobo at a local bar and tries to convince him to work together to solve the case. However, Bobo, who doesn't trust the police at all, immediately says no to the offer. As Taylor left the bar, he felt like something bad was about to happen. Suddenly, another police officer started shooting at him, and he had to hide to stay safe. Just when things looked grim, Bobo showed up just in time and pulled Taylor into his car to get away from the shooter. Taylor was still shocked and aimed his gun at Bobo, threatening to have him arrested. But Bobo calmly explained that the police wouldn't believe Taylor because his fingerprints were on the gun. He gave Taylor 2 choices: either go with him to get medical help or wait for the police to arrest him. At the same time, Keegan found himself in a tricky situation. He met with Marcus, who was a lawyer, and Morell, a corrupt businessman who always did shady things to gain power. They had told Keegan to kill both Bobo and Louis, and now they wanted him to get evidence of their illegal activities. They had bribed politicians to get contracts in their favor, and they knew where the proof was hidden, thanks to their corrupt police contacts. Bobo drove Taylor to his daughter, Lisa's tattoo shop, and told him to stay there while they sorted out the Greeley and Louis murder case. When they got out of the car, Bobo gave Taylor a gun and called Lieutenant Leberton to tell him that he found Taylor and would soon uncover what happened with the murders. Inside the shop, Lisa, who knew about medicine, took care of Taylor's gunshot wound. On the other hand, Keegan had reached Greeley's friend's hiding place and got into a big gunfight to get evidence of Morell's illegal actions. Back at the tattoo shop, after Taylor was treated, he and Bobo went to find Ronnie, the person who paid Bobo to do the murders. With help from their bosses, they found out that Ronnie was at a bathhouse. Bobo told Taylor to stay in the car while he talked to Ronnie alone. Bobo talked to Ronnie and accused him of setting him up. He wanted to know who paid him to kill Greeley. Ronnie said he didn't know and that he was contacted by someone he hadn't been paid by yet. Bobo suggested they work together to find the person who hired them. But when Bobo asked Ronnie to put on his shirt, Ronnie pulled out a gun and tried to shoot Bobo. However, Bobo had already emptied the gun of bullets. Bobo still wanted to hurt Ronnie, but his gun didn't work because Taylor had taken the bullets. As they drove to Marcus's house, Bobo hit Taylor for touching his gun. Despite that, they worked together to find Marcus's house using information from Taylor's bosses. On the way, they found out that Bobo had been kicked out of the Navy for selling illegal weapons and had become a hitman. When they got to Marcus's house, they saw that he was having a fancy dress party. Bobo saw Keegan at the party, but with so many people around, he couldn't do anything. At the same time, Morell was involved in a suspicious deal with a congressman he had given money to. They were talking about building fancy houses in the suburbs. Marcus came into the room, but Morell didn't want him around, so he asked Marcus to go get a drink. Marcus got annoyed and planned to put his urine in the drink while he was in the bathroom. But before he could do that, Bobo and Taylor surprised him and took him to Bobo's secret place. Luckily, Morell knew that Marcus had been kidnapped because he had a police officer who worked for him and put a tracking device on Marcus's phone. Morell quickly found out where Bobo was hiding and told Keegan to get rid of Bobo and Taylor. He thought Marcus's safety was not as important as that. When Taylor tried to quietly ask Marcus some questions, it was clear that Marcus wouldn't tell them anything. So, Bobo decided to use his own methods, and with one punch, Marcus quickly admitted that Morell had paid Keegan to get rid of Bobo and Lewis. They did this to make sure that Greeley's death wouldn't lead to Morell. Keegan used to be a soldier for hire and worked in Africa. Morell, on the other hand, was a well-known trickster who had done lots of scams in Africa. Right now, Morell was up to no good in the city, doing dishonest things by giving money to several officials so he could buy land for cheap. He planned to rebuild the properties and sell them for a big profit. All the proof of Morell's bribes was on a USB drive that Marcus had. With the information they needed, Bobo didn't waste any time and killed Marcus. At the same time, Keegan and his guys attacked Bobo's hiding place. This made Bobo and Taylor leave just in time before the house exploded because of a bomb. The next day, Bobo asked Taylor to come to Lisa's house to check the USB drive they got from Marcus. The USB showed that a lot of important people, like judges and politicians, had taken bribes from Morell. Taylor quickly called Lieutenant Leberton to tell him what they found, including who was really responsible for killing Greeley and Lewis, and proof of Morell's bribery plan. Taylor planned to meet Lieutenant Leberton when he got to town. Before leaving, Lisa begged Taylor not to put Bobo in jail, but Taylor had to because Bobo had done many crimes. While they were driving, Bobo told Taylor that he wasn't married, and Lisa was actually the daughter of a prostitute who had died 15 years ago. When they got to the city, Taylor and Bobo went their separate ways. At the same time, a police officer told Morell that they were going to use Bobo's daughter to get the USB. Morell wanted to deal with this first, and then get rid of Keegan, because he thought Keegan was reckless and dangerous. Keegan saw himself as a hero and didn't care much about money, and that made him unpredictable. Soon after, Keegan met Lisa and quickly kidnapped her. While Taylor was telling Lieutenant Leberton everything, he was taken by surprise when the officer suddenly tried to kill him. To Taylor's horror, it turned out that Lieutenant Leberton was working with Morell, one of the corrupt cops they were trying to expose. Just when it seemed like there was no hope, Bobo arrived just in time to save Taylor from being killed. As they were getting ready to leave, Keegan contacted Bobo with a scary demand. Give him the USB or Lisa's life would be in danger. Bobo, really worried about Lisa, rushed to where they were supposed to meet as fast as he could, determined to save her no matter what. Bobo didn't waste any time and hurried to the meeting place, where he met Morell. It seemed like Bobo was alone, and he played his cards right by offering to kill Taylor if they released Lisa and gave him the USB. Morell agreed quickly, even though Keegan had told him not to, but they didn't know that Taylor had sneaked into the area and was quietly watching everything they did. Bobo really wanted revenge for his friend Lewis's death, so he was determined to bring down Keegan. After giving them the USB, he quickly got Lisa out of there to safety. But what he didn't know was that Keegan had gotten tired of Morell's greedy ways and decided to take matters into his own hands. In a brutal fight, Keegan and his guys managed to get rid of Morell and his friends. Taylor had recorded the whole thing as evidence against the corrupt officers. While Keegan's men fought with Morell's guys, Bobo told Lisa to hide and be ready for the worst. He didn't know that Morell's goons would find her soon. Luckily, Taylor came just in time to save her from getting hurt. At the same time, Bobo really wanted to get back at Keegan. They had a brutal fight, and Bobo managed to deliver the fatal blow with Lewis' knife, ending Keegan's terror. But when Taylor tried to tell the authorities what happened, Bobo's fear of getting caught and his paranoia made him turn his gun on Taylor and shoot him without thinking. In the end, the police came, and Taylor was taken to the hospital for urgent medical care. Surprisingly, Taylor didn't blame Bobo in his report. Instead, he said it was a violent fight between rival criminals that ended with both of them getting hurt. This choice meant that Bobo didn't have to worry about the law coming after him. A few weeks later, Taylor asked Bobo to meet him at a local bar. While they had drinks, Taylor talked to Bobo about his relationship with Lisa. He warned Bobo that any illegal stuff would not be accepted. Even though they had a troubled past, it seemed like Taylor was willing to give Bobo another chance, but only if Bobo stayed out of trouble. So the moral of the story is don't mess with hitmen, or you might end up in a wild tango of kidnappings and betrayals that even the police can't keep up with. So maybe just stick to simpler hobbies.